Nigeria's number of out-of-school children has remained a cause for concern, almost defying government efforts and that of development partners. Stakeholders say there is a need for a focus on battling insecurity and dealing with worsening economic situations. Olalekan Akindoju has this report.
The number of out-of-school children in Nigeria, put at about 10.5 million by official statistics, continues to be a persistent challenge. This is despite the combined efforts of the Nigerian government, international development partners, and non-governmental organizations. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the issue of out-of-school children in Nigeria is worsened by lack of educational provision in predominantly rural areas and the impact of insurgency in the northeast. However, Ademola Adebisi, the Executive Director of Value Orientation for Community Enhancement, VAS, a non-governmental organization, believes the Nigerian government must also tackle the country's declining economic situation.
So if we didn't make sure that the gap between the rich and the poor is not too much, it's not too at the extreme, we will still be having the issue of education. So one major thing that government can do is that let's empower people, let people get empowered. And if I am empowered, I can send my children to school. If I am informed, I can also send my children to school.
The International Day of Education is celebrated annually on January 24th, and this year marks the 6th year of this celebration under the theme Learning for Lasting Peace. As explained by UNESCO, the thought behind this year's theme is because the world is seeing a surge of violent conflicts, paralleled by an alarming rise of discrimination, racism, xenophobia, and hate speech. Most affected by these conflicts are women and children, with a girl child faced with dire situations, including difficulty in accessing education. In an effort to bridge this gap, VAS launched a learning hub in Osun State, southwest Nigeria, with support of United Nations International School. Mr. Debisi says 100 young girls are provided with quality education and digital skills for a brighter future.
And it has the peculiarity. The peculiarity part of it is for just girls that have gotten through GS3 class, that have written GS3 exam, and they dropped out. So they drop out for one reason, for some reason, either for unable to afford to go to school, little that they paid, they couldn't afford it anymore, or some of them became pregnant and when they gave birth to the child, they can't return back to school. Some of them are vulnerable children that are maybe orphan or that have lost their parents and they couldn't afford to return back to school. So these are the kind of girls that we put at the center.
The project's monitoring and evaluation officer, Oluwatoyin Adebayo, says the young girls also undergo mentoring, counseling, while a crèche is provided for those who have children among them, with transport fare also factored into the package.
They've been out of school for not less than 1 year, and getting them back to school is a bit challenging. For most of them, it's been long they've been in school, so it's like they are getting reacclimatized back to school. So the learning process has not been very easy, but then we've got qualified and dedicated tutors and mentors to take them through, come down to their level, identify specific needs as peculiar to each of the students, and then rub minds with them. So there have been great improvements in their learning and then in their interest in learning again.
As the Nigerian government battles indiscriminate attacks in parts of the country and kidnappings in several areas, it has also been encouraging school attendance through feeding pupils once during school hours. Mr. Debisi, Executive Director of VAS, believes while it's a good initiative, it is not a sustainable means to reduce the number of out-of-school children. He also says government must be intentional about education.
If you have a better budget and being sincere and intentional about it, it's something to have a better budget, it's something to be sincere and intentional about it. Because if you give me a budget of 100,000 to take care of a girl and I decide to make it 10,000 when you leave, I'm not being sincere. So that means if you're giving me that money, you must stay by me and watch me because of the nature of this country. Because everybody feel like when you pass through shortcuts. So sometimes you don't blame government. Government get it approved, but government don't have a system of monitoring it. So education is one thing that government must invest in. Let us invest in both, in every part of education and digital education.
Education is central to societal development, but without security and economic empowerment, it becomes difficult to ensure more enrollment in schools. This makes it crucial for the Nigerian government to take urgent steps to secure citizens and make the economy viable. Olale Kwakindoju, Western Spring Television News.